recording.
Alrighty.
All right.
Let's do some kind of epilogue.
Yeah, let's do an epilogue for a Warryn.
Yeah. Okay, so I had these all written down just kind of in the order that I thought of them while I was listening to the finale. I don't have them in any particular chronological order, so we can just kind of slot them in wherever they would fit. First off, like the latest canonical thing that I heard Warren being alive for was Curdaim's reflection, which would happen like thousands of years in the future, right?
No, Curdaim was on his last lifetime as an elf, and has only had a couple of hundred years left in him max when you
Okay.
met him. I believe canonically we are looking at 300 years, 250, 300 years. I can't remember exactly which.
Alrighty.
From the time of Disimoth's ascension to Curdaim's reflection.
Alrighty. And the tattoos are giving us more life than that. Is that
The tattoos are
correct?
giving you basically the lifetime of an elf. The elf slash fae, so somewhere in that range. I don't want to be too specific about how long it is,
Sure.
in case any of that kind of bleeds over into the next campaign.
All right.
But
Okay.
you definitely have the option to live long enough to be alive at the beginning of the next campaign.
Okay. Um. Yeah, so some of the things I wrote down require long-term study and all that kind of stuff. But just to start with, one of the things that was predominantly said, especially in Morgan's epilogue, Warren would definitely take that position with the Painted Company, and go out on missions with the men and like acquire uh, artifacts and um, like materials and stuff to use in his work, and also just he caught the adventuring bug while he was out there and he likes it a whole big old bunch.
All right, so Warren is
Um,
not going to be one to just sit at home and stay in a workshop for the next 500 years.
yeah, I mean he's been a hermit for as long as he's been alive so far, so that habit's going to be hard to kick. But he's also working through this new adventuring life that he's got, so that's not going to stop happening anytime soon. Um, at some point, either before, during, or after his stint with the Painted Company, he would try to effect some kind of reform with the school in what is it, Dartmouth?
Yes.
Yeah, he might, I don't know, try to teach there or advocate for change there or just be loud enough to be heard about this. But as I understood it, that school was a place where magic was taught purely for war, correct?
It was.
Okay, well now that there is not a war, he would like to change that. It would be nice to just have another, magic for the sake of magic school rather than just war. I'm not sure what avenues he would have to affect change there, whether it be enrolling as a professor or challenging the headmaster, or I don't know how you would want to play that.
Okay. Um, so
Or it could be
notes as we
something. It
go.
could be. Sorry, go ahead.
I'm taking notes as we go so that I can kind of keep track of things in my head.
Oh, I see.
Um,
Okay.
and then, I kind of did this with the other people, but I did it on the fly, so I missed a few things that I saw later in the recording.
Sure.
Um, so my idea of how we're going to do this is going to be, you're going to give me some key points of things that you want Warren to do, and then I'll put it all into something that makes sense in a timeline.
Okay.
And it'll hold some surprises for you and for the rest of the group as well.
Okay. I'll just run down the points that I thought were pertinent, and then we'll piece it all together in a minute. Uh, so that was the second thing. The third thing, he would want to find his parents. He would want to know where his fucking parents are. Because last time he saw them, he left for Beltroy, and I mean they still lived in Telb when shit exploded. He just hasn't had time to go back and look. He would want to go back and find his parents at some point.
They were residents of Telb after you left?
Oh, were they?
I'm asking you that question.
They were residents of Telb after I left with the Unavowed the first time we left Telb.
Well, that's not good.
Yeah, no, it wasn't great. We'll figure that out in a minute. That could be a sad part of the story, but that's all right. The fourth thing I have here, he would want to study the Sunblade, and you can tell me how feasible this is. He would want to invent the Daergle foil, which is not a lightsaber because that's copyrighted. He would want to like study the effects of the Sunblade, and like obviously it's like holy magic, which is not his bag. But by the idea, he would want to create like a gravitational field that traps and condenses light to create a lightsaber, essentially. That could be another thing that only his magic works on that. So it could be a thing all his own, or it could be widely distributed. I'll leave that to you. Whether it even works or not, because this is your world. He would want to raise Cogsworth benevolently, quote, quote. I haven't exactly sussed out what that means because I myself am not a father and have no idea how to raise a child. But he would try to, do right by him and raise him accordingly, keep him near his friends because those are the most trustworthy people he's found. Try to give him an upbringing that is both worthwhile and happy. Maybe some kind of apprenticeship. He might want to learn the trade or something. I don't know, but that's Cogsworth. He would want to. This got briefly touched on with Mist and Galthanos's wrap-ups, but he would also like to study the Scroll of Time in a more thorough capacity. Now that he has hundreds of years to do so, he would probably join them in their efforts whenever they did that. One thing that was not touched on was he would want to study devils and specifically how to counteract Rakshasas, because we have one on our ass currently.
You're the first person to remember that there is a Rakshasa with your name on his tongue.
He would specifically keep the name Canuck in mind, because that was the name that was given to that dude, I believe. He would be keeping anti-devil measures in mind, and probably another thing on my list is setting up like a workshop in some kind of like permanent residence, probably somewhere in Dunnycare to keep it close to the painting company. But he would probably put all kinds of anti-devil stuff all over his workshop because that's happening. One idea that I really liked is the idea of him praying to Disimoth, because throughout this campaign he has not had a given god. He has taken interest in the Fae because they seem to have interesting qualities. He has taken interest in he's taken interest in Beteron. He's taken an interest in everybody else's god with an academic standpoint, but he's never known a god face to face. And he would dare say he's never known somebody more worthy of the title. So when he's alone in his workshop or like working on something or particularly frustrated or just venting to no one in particular, he's talking to Disimoth. He just like he would usually do, he just speaks out loud as though Disimoth was also in the room. He would imagine arguments with him. He would imagine good advice. He may respond, he may not, but that's his kind of prayer. There's no "Oh ye Lord," it's just "Hey dude, what's up?"
Conversation.
Conversation to nothing in particular. And he would just do that all the time, just whenever. Here is another thing that you can decide what to do with however you would like. He would want to refine the Sending Stone network technology. I don't know how wide you would like that to be in your world, or if it would still just be, this thing that he made, or if that just becomes, a common thing that people have. You can do with that what you will.
So refine in what way?
What's up?
Refine in what way?
Well, I mean, that's the decision that you can make there. That like the one level of that scale would be like, uh, oh, at some point maybe our characters come across this ancient relic that was a network of sending stones that was made by this cool guy. Or the 10 version of that is everybody has cell phones now, so you can put that wherever you like. Like I didn't have any specific plan for that, but there was a precedent for a sending stone network if you would like to play with that.
Okay.
I certainly didn't want to say, hey, everybody has cell phones now, because that's not a thing I can decide for your world. uh, when was it established when this? Okay, so the next one that he would want to do is study the nature of Kerdeum's soul bond, dragons in general, and Ross specifically. Now that he has hundreds of years to devote to this subject. Um, when did Kerdeum bond Warryn? Did this happen in the epilogue?
No.
No, when the fuck did this happen?
This happened, I want to say you guys were probably around level 6 or 7.
Okay.
I believe you guys were in Dama, maybe.
Was it Dama?
It was in a city. I want to say Dama, but it could have been Dunacar. It could have been.
But a lot are like very early for me to be just hearing about it now.
Oh yeah. It was something that like you agreed to. You, John, agreed to do it.
Oh, did I?
Yes.
I don't remember this at all. But I like obviously it doesn't confer any any like gameplay specific benefits, because clearly I didn't write any down.
It did.
It what?
It did. There were mechanical benefits in game for being soul bonded to Kerdeum.
Well, shit.
Yeah. And
either I have that. I either just have those grandfathered into my character and I just don't notice, or apparently I wasn't using them.
I don't think you ever used them, and I don't know. Like, it granted a little bit of extra lifetime.
That's what I thought.
Yeah. Which mechanically now really doesn't matter because the twos are doing the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. But he would. I mean, now that he's not been benefiting from it for most of his actual adventure, he would want to study that and figure out how it works.
See, I'm sure that Ben knows better than I what benefits you actually have.
For sure.
So I don't think we'll touch on that very much, other than you research it.
For sure. I think in that research he would try to stay in touch with the dragons in general in any way he can. He would try to make contact with benevolent dragons and try to stay within that circle in some way. Right.
Well, that's easy enough to do because you are still one of the
caretakers. Yeah. I think he would want to, that has been an official role that he has played, but there hasn't been terribly much contact with, any established organization of dragons who would be interested in, caretaking as well. Or at least, protecting benevolence in general. So he would want to start communicating with whatever fraternity of dragons there are, if there is one. Next, he would want to build some kind of workshop, probably in Dunacar somewhere. I have written down build cool shit and teach magic item responsibilities. He would like, at the same time he would offer apprenticeship courses and like teach people how to tinker and artifice. Some of the more promising candidates he might teach gravimancy, but only if he really, really likes them. And all the while he would teach, responsibility above everything. Don't fuck up and melt 100 of your classmates. Please don't do that. It would be bad.
Yeah, flatten, no schoolyards.
Yeah. And then the last thing that I had written down is just study magical secrets throughout the centuries, Gandalf style. Just basically become, a traveling researcher of all things mysterious, and just kind of try to catalog the mysteries of Ilvanos.
Okay, so I have your goals. Now I need some answers to some questions from things outside your control.
For sure.
When we already know that when Muirgin asks Warryn if he wants to take up the position as like the advisor to the, I believe that's what it was.
The term he used was court wizard, court artificer,
Yes.
court mage, if you will.
You accepting that position, but then later he would come to you and say, "Hey, I don't want to live for a long time. Figure this tattoo out. I want to die." How would Warryn react to that?
I think he would be shocked at first, but I mean, he's known Muirgin long enough to know that, everlasting life and time to study the mysteries of the universe, or time to accrue glory or wealth or what have you, is not what he wants. He knows that. Like, he wants a simple life, and he wants, you know, to live exactly as long as he's supposed to. So he would assent. He would, there would be a little sadness in it, but he would know that there are several years ahead, because I don't know how to do this right now, but I'll figure it out. In that moment he would assent, but uh, kind of make a mental note that time with Muirgin Yasna is now at a premium, so you should probably spend that a little more wisely at this point.
All right. I think we're ready to get into the narrative part of it then.
Sure.
You can interplay with this. You're not just a listener, you're an active participant. So, shortly after the ascension of Disimoth, the party basically splits up. Obviously, Disimoth does not go anywhere. He has ascended.
He's everywhere.
And Quillen has decided to take up as like a follower of Disimoth and maintain the Brass City, guard it, and keep the connection between the conduit on Tana in Ilvanos and the gate itself connected and protected. So he's taken up permanent residence in... Oh, even the other players don't really know this yet. In what will soon become known as Warden Spire.
Okay.
Which is the name of the Brass City going forward.
Warryn would absolutely join the anniversary reunion that most, or I think everybody's going to. I'm not sure.
So far, I believe everybody has said that they're gonna attend these yearly pilgrimages back to Warden Spire.
Yeah. Warryn would enthusiastically attend.
Okay. Obviously, Kerdaeum has gone off to do his own thing. You see, spends more and more time in his dragon form, and would eventually bring you to his lair, deep in Skyreach Mountains. The lair has lifetimes of masterpieces. The masterpiece of every lifetime is collected here into his collection.
Are any of these masterpieces magic items?
Don't know.
I'll have to ask Ben.
Yeah, that's a conversation I have to have with Ben. That is one thing, as the soul bonded person with Kerdaeum. Your main job is to take care of the collection after Kerdaeum dies.
All right. Warryn would be in awe of the responsibility and graciously accept. I mean, oh no, I have to be the curator of beautiful masterpieces that are possibly thousands of years old. What How could this responsibility be sprung upon me? Oh God, it's terrible.
Yes. So you can decide what you have in mind for that. We don't necessarily need to go over it. It's something you can send me later, and I can integrate into the world as we move forward. But just know that Warryn would be the one who was responsible for making sure that this stuff was either protected or shown or shared in some manner according to Credaeum's wishes and your management.
Without without any specificity as to what exactly is in the hoard, uh, he would probably show the most beautiful and least dangerous of the objects, either donating them to uh, either Beltroy or Darsmith eventually when they've gained his trust. Uh, possibly some of the pieces might go in his workshop or in the halls at Dunnycare. Um, but the more magical or dangerous pieces he would keep someplace very safe, possibly some kind of safe in the workshop. Um, and the more magical of them, you would definitely study the crap out of.
All right. Mist has gone back to Misthaven and will eventually become a very successful and loved queen of her people, and becomes very well respected by all of Ilvanos as one of the premier uh, uh, leaders of Ilvanos.
I mean, Warren would probably make some kind of excursions into the Kagara at a few points in his life, probably.
Oh, Warren spends quite a bit of time in his study of the Scroll of Fate.
Oh yeah, is that happening in her like
Yeah,
observatory?
Credaeum and Mist get together on a regular basis and use her observatory.
Okay, cool. Then yeah, he would go there, whenever that as frequently as that happens.
All right. So you spend quite a lot of time at the observatory in Misthaven, and within 50 years or so, the three of you have unlocked 90% of what is written in the heavens and recorded it in the device that you guys have set up at the observatory, into a thing where regular people can come and read it.
Oh shit.
So you've managed to put down the history of Ilvanos in somewhat of a written form for others.
I'm assuming this history is mystically accurate as the Scroll of Time is, rather than just someone's account of it.
Correct.
Cool.
Yeah, this is
That's
not.
that's pretty cool.
This is definitely not the winner decides what history records. This is true history.
Yeah. This is objective history.
And one of the things that you particularly discover in the Scroll of Fate, and you can decide whether or not to share this with Mist and Credaeum or with history in general, but you are the one to discover that all prophecy originates from the Scroll of Fate. Nowhere is that recorded in any kind of journal or knowledge or history. It's something that you discover and can now that you know what the mechanism of it, you can see it in old books of prophecy, even in the prophecies that you've been exposed to in your adventures, is that somebody stumbles on these prophecies in the Scroll of Fate, whether they know it or not, and that is how they come to be into modern writings.
Was that is this the kind of is this like a the kind of discovery that's like if these people never stumbled upon these writings, then there wouldn't be a prophecy in the first place? Is that the idea?
No.
No?
What you discover is, for example,
Okay.
a scholar is stargazing in a field, trying to go to sleep. He's camping. Falls asleep staring at the stars. Has a dream. Wakes up. Realizes it's prophecy. Records the prophecy. Doesn't even realize that the stargazing is where the prophecy came from.
I see.
The Scroll of Fate has put this prophecy in his mind.
He would almost certainly share that with Mist and Disimoth. There's no reason why he wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah. Especially Disimoth. Disimoth is a divination expert. He should absolutely know. Or not Disimoth, excuse me, Galthanos.
Okay. So yeah, you guys learn all kinds of stuff about the Scroll of Fate and the history of the entire planet. Some of it you guys don't understand. You don't have any context for it. But anything having to do with Ilvanos in general, pretty easy to understand. You have a fairly well-built knowledge of the history of Ilvanos. But it does also speak of faraway continents and events that you have no idea what the context of the event is.
Gotcha.
So you can record that kind of thing, but you don't really understand it.
These faraway things are things that happened in either the present or the past, I assume.
The Scroll of Fate, the way it works is it records all time.
That's right. It doesn't do the future, does it?
Only in prophecy.
Only in prophecy. That's right. It's not written in certain terms until it's actually happened.
Right.
Got it. Okay.
And the whole thing that you guys stumbled upon with Mistrender and the Wish and creating the gate, that was all prophecy granted to you by the Scroll of Fate. It was not a foregone conclusion that any of that stuff would come to pass, though.
Gotcha. That was advice that we chose to act on, not a certainty.
Correct.
Got it. You said it took about 50 years to make this discovery?
Yeah, 50 years to where you guys have recorded what you can record out of it.
Okay. This vein is tapped.
Yeah.
Got it. I think Warryn would spend a little bit more time trying to squeeze a prophecy or two out of it, and then get frustrated and decide that that's as much, as this is going to yield.
Yep, that's very Warryn-like. You try to force it. And
yeah, absolutely.
You finally have to admit that the scroll has some kind of otherworldly sentience.
Yeah.
And that it can't be forced. Prophecies are given, not extracted.
That's right. Yeah, it has a mind of its. No matter how well we understand its function, it still has a mind of its own.
Correct.
Gotcha. And Warryn would be content with this discovery, I think.
And of course, Murgen and Yasna have gone back to Denacare. It doesn't take them a very long time before they marry one another and begin starting a family. At that point, that's when Murgen would come to you and say, hey, the time's come for me to start thinking about the future and not wanting to live too far into that. So you take the position with the painted company and stay nearby for the most part. You do still take your journeys and everything. But you spend the majority of your time in Denacare with those two. And
just to be clear, I don't want it to make it seem like I take the position because he's dying.
No.
Okay, cool. Yeah, he would have taken the position fairly recently after the downfall of Thanok.
Yes.
I think. Yeah, I just want to make sure that came through.
But you're able to, because Warryn has shown his need to end his life at some point.
You mean Wergen?
Yep.
Warryn doesn't have that need.
Warryn would find it very easy to stay nearby and set up his workshop and do the work that Muirgin wants done, while still doing all of Warren's own personal work.
For sure. He would want to be as around and available for their children. Making all kinds of fun toys and magic shit and entertaining and educating. He would want to play a very active role in their children's lives.
So at about the 70-year mark, Muirgin and Jasna now have several children who are young adults.
I think he would try to make steel defenders for one or some of them at some point.
Sure. But word comes to you at that point that the Darsmith Academy headmaster has finally passed away, and they are seeking a new headmaster.
Oh shit!
You haven't completed all your tasks with Dunacar yet? Would you take that job as a headmaster in Darsmith? With that yet completed?
That's a really good question. About what is happening when that happens? Like where is the MacDrathen line when that is happening? Is this after his death?
No. Muirgin is still alive. Jasna is still alive. Their kids are still not middle-aged yet. They're in their 30s or younger at this point.
Okay. Okay.
You're still unraveling the secrets of the tattoos, studying all that stuff. Kurdaim is still in the world.
All right. If there's still a good 10, 20 years before before they pass, then I think I think he would take that position as headmaster. I think he feels like he would be able to do a lot of good from the top in there.
All right, so taking on the position of headmaster of the Darsmith Academy, you're able to perform wonderful changes for that school, and you bend their future away from that of purely a destructive force and into a force of a true learning establishment.
Creation and academics.
Yes.
Yeah.
You do keep a section of the school teaching the arts of arcane warfare.
Mm-hmm.
Because
it has its place.
You have been through the history of needing that stuff.
Yeah, I'm very good at it. It would be very hypocritical of me to say no, that's not part of magic.
But you do open it up to creationism and some of the more fine aspects of arcane knowledge.
I think something he would stress very heavily is the idea of using magic to create something that will last.
Yes.
Something that is more than just a brief effect, or destruction, wanton or otherwise.
One of the secrets you uncover in your new position is you find in a section of the headmaster's office a illusionary opening that is very cleverly hidden even from other magic practitioners. And in there you find the old headmaster's journal.
Mm.
And upon reading that journal, you find out that...
Sorry, is this the headmaster of Darsmith or the old headmaster of Beltroy who fucked up real hard?
Darsmith.
Thank you.
And you find out that the Darsmith headmaster is the one who kind of goaded and prodded and convinced the Beltroy headmaster to move forward with the ritual without all the proper ingredients.
I see.
And then skipped out right before the ritual happened.
Crazy.
Fuck
that guy, right?
You also find out that after that happens, he, not willing to take the blame for himself, places that blame on the only other person alive he could, and that's you.
Naturally.
And
has he been spreading, telling some stories out of class?
He was telling some stories, and he also had some direct hands-on fuckery with you and your party.
Oh?
At the Kobold Warrens.
Oh, God.
He is the one who tried to erase you and the Unavowed in a singularity of massive size.
Ah.
That wiped out the Warren.
Yeah, okay. Well, that explains that. What a piece of shit.
When it didn't work, he became frightened of you and the Unavowed. You had become powerful enough that he could not kill you with a black hole, and decided that it was time to bury that and just try to stay out of your way. There is another entry in there that after your visit to Darsmith with him as the headmaster, of course this is months later after he did that, and he didn't know he was going to be headmaster of that school when he did that. So you're showing up there really, turn the screws on him. And he considered, in his writings, he considered trying to eliminate you and the Unavowed once again while you were in Darsmith. And ultimately chickened out and backed out of that and just decided to be good and do what he was supposed to do for Ilvanos.
Good man. Well, not quite.
He's gone now, so...
but now he dead.
Yeah, he's dead.
Fuck that guy.
You do some more research into... early on, you would do research into Telb and find out that your parents did not survive that ritual.
Yeah, he would be devastated for, a time.
Probably for a couple of years.
For a couple of years. I think that would mark a period of aggressive growth in his work, where he would shut himself into his workshop for quite a long time. Maybe I would say maybe he wouldn't shut himself in the workshop and lock the door like Willy Wonka style, but he would come out very sparingly over the course of maybe 3 to 5 years. I think he would be a little down.
So it is that loss and the how do we say it? Not isolation, a semi-isolation from the world as you deal with the grief of that in conversations with Cogsworth in your lab, that Cogsworth begins to really grow as a person, and you begin to prepare yourself for what you see coming in your future. And that is that everyone you know, except for a very select few, will one day also die and leave you. And you come to terms with it. And it not only makes your work with the tattoos easier to reconcile, but at the same time it gives you a platform on which to grow on in raising Cogsworth.
That's what I was going to say.
On the value of life.
Oh yeah, I think that this whole experience, especially having Cogsworth around for for him to focus this grief into uh, a positive educational direction. I think he would use this to instill Cogsworth with the sense that you have a lot of life, but you shouldn't waste it because one day it will be over.
Yeah. So, Cogsworth eventually comes to you. In the early days of raising Cogsworth, much of that time was Cogsworth just asking questions, and you answering them the best you could.
As children are like to do.
And eventually that led into a education through stories. Cogsworth does not seem to have the knack for the arcane. He does show some signs that the divine realms of magic might be open to him.
Okay.
He, at least early on in his life, does not seem to have any interest in pursuing a career other than, I'm with you, Father, let's make stuff.
I see.
But
As once I noticed this knack for divine magic, I would probably tell him more stories about Disimoth.
and he eats them up.
Yeah.
Eventually, he is able to put several stories together and come to a conclusion, and he brings his concern to you of Cannock's return. That the Rakshasa, from what he could find out, can return to this plane 100 years after their destruction on it. And at one point in time, you might have thought that wasn't going to be a problem because you'd be long dead and gone, whatever. But now it was almost a certainty that you and he, and maybe the rest of the Unavowed who are still alive, would have to deal with Cannock again.
Yeah, it's kind of nice that we have those tattoos because some of us would be gone and some of us would still be here.
Right. So it is through Cogsworth's concerns that you begin a study of deviltry and of the planes of the Nine Hells and the various different devil types that could issue forth from those planes. You're fairly certain that the more powerful of the devils would not be able to get past Disimoth and the Divine Gate. The same as the demons and Orcus.
Yeah. Demon princes, devil lords, and whatnot.
Yeah, high enough of a power rating that they're probably not just getting through.
Yeah.
However, a lot of their minions are far, far weaker than them. Still powerful beings, but easily able to transverse through the gate and be physically on Tana.
Oh yeah, that's another thing you would probably want to study is the gate itself.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you begin studying and eventually learn how to ward against, keep devils and demons and things of that nature from entering areas. You totally do your workshop since a lot of your more delicate creations are housed there.
If I can, I would like to do the estate at Dunnycare, but if I can only do a certain room, I would do the kids' rooms.
I know you could do the estate.
Okay, then I would do the whole estate.
It would take years to do it, but you could do it.
I got years.
Yeah.
Speaking of years, there? Oh no, we have a teleportation circle in Dunnycare. Never mind.
Yes. Doing all of that warding over the years left you with plenty of time for your mind to spin while your hands were busy, which is something you're fairly used to anyway. It's a very familiar mode of work for you. And slowly, you begin to have conversations with Disimoth. that originate through, hey, if you were really watching over our backs, you'd help guide my hand on this symbol. I'm having problems with it right now. And then
you get your lazy ass down here and help me.
Yeah. What are you gonna do? Just sit up there on the doorstep and watch this gate? Come on, I need your help right now. And you find a kinship and a connection with Disimoth through these conversations, these mundane conversations that, in the back of your mind, is a form of worship, although you refuse to admit that on a conscious level.
On an intellectual level, that's right. I don't worship. What are you talking about? That's silly.
Yeah, that's what priests do. I'm not a priest, so just put that out of your head. I'm not a follower. I'm not a worshiper. But
I don't worship. I pontificate.
Yeah. So that goes on for many, many, many years. And then one day in your workshop, while Cogsworth is out doing some errand for you, you're studying the tattoos, and you try out a new incantation you've been working on for a while. And with a pair of tweezers, you try to pluck the tattoo off your wrist, and a leaf lifts. And
ooh, I put it back down. Ooh.
Yeah. Instantly you release it, and it reattaches. But you realize that you've unlocked the secrets, and you can do what Murugan and Yasna have asked you to do now. And going to them, you have a long, heartfelt conversation with them where you let them know that you've done it, you've cracked it, and they haven't changed their minds.
I think when he makes that discovery, it's the most bittersweet discovery he's ever made. It's like, it's a very, it's fey magic, so it's very impressive and interesting. And when he finally cracks it, he's elated. But once he comes down from that and realizes what it means, he's a little melancholy about it.
And you're not sure what to expect. You're not sure if when you remove it, all the years will just pile up and it'll be an instant thing, or if they will just resume their lifespans. They're still 20s, 30s in physically.
Yeah.
Or if the years will pile up but at a slow pace, and they'll catch up to them over a couple of years. And that does turn out to be the case, that it doesn't happen all at once and they don't just resume aging. Those years do come back at an accelerated rate, but you have a couple of years with them after removing the tattoos. But it doesn't take more than a couple of weeks to a month to start seeing that the aging process has restarted. And eventually the day does come when they pass within hours of one another.
Well, at least they weren't separated long. That's nice.
And you help to set up the funeral. Their surviving children, some of which have already grown old and died of old age, also set up with that. Their grandchildren help with that. And it is during the funeral that you feel the presence of Disimoth as this beam of light comes down between their two cairns. And you see this radiant being pluck up their souls and depart with them into the heavens.
Aww.
After that, you begin to pour yourself back into the work with
Cogsworth.
With Cogsworth and with the runes of warding. You also take up some very old tech that you used to have going on and begin restudying the sending stones and seeing how you can improve upon them. And when you begin studying that old tech, Cogsworth comes to you and says, "Father, if we're going to be looking at the past, the tech of the past, there's something. I have a favor to ask you. I want more of my kind. I feel alone. You're the only family I have."
I think at that point, Warryn would really consider. He's just lost two very great friends. Not before their time, but still. Um, I think this would be a moment where he would greatly consider his legacy and what he's leaving behind, and what it will do for the world. Um, I think he spends a lot of time worrying about what it would mean to create a new race of people, and then ultimately just decides that the one that he's made so far has turned out well, which means that every one that he makes after now has the potential to turn out well, which means they deserve that chance. So he assents, and he 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 teaches Cogsworth how to do it for the most part, but I think he reserves the finishing touches, the actual imbuing of life, for himself. Um, simply because he feels that that's something that's a little too dangerous to let into other people's hands just yet.
Well, the good thing is that the final process of imbuing life is an arcane endeavor through the use of the gravimancy, and Cogsworth has no talent there.
I mean, presumably I've done this a couple of times. Is it the case that all Warforged that I create have no knack for arcane magic, or is it just Cogsworth?
It's just Cogsworth.
Just Cogsworth. Okay, so that's not a racial thing. Okay. I think what he would do is, well, at first I think he would make him a brother, or like a brother or a sister. Um, and he would have Cogsworth help him with that, and then he would probably test that out for 1 or 2 years, and once that seems to have been going well, he would think about making, oh, let's make a community of them, and see where that goes, and then as it goes benevolently, he would start to automate the process, um, and decide, oh boy, where is he gonna stop? He just makes shit forever. Um, I think
Cogsworth would come to you at some point after you've created however many Warforged and let you know that unless you really intend to live forever, that eventually, to keep his race from dying off, you'd have to pass those secrets on to another.
I would. Um, creating all of these warforges, I imagine, takes several years.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think all during this process he would keep a very close eye on Cogsworth, and how this whole process would affect him. And then if he sees that this whole process has gone well, and he would, like, before he considered mass producing, he would obviously, like, try to socialize all the ones that he's created so far, and, like, take them out into the world and make sure that they don't murder people instantly, like, just make sure that they're you know good and productive members of society. And then I imagine they have been working in the world and have been known, at least in Dunnycare, for a number of years before Cogsworth makes that request, and then I think that would be enough for Warryn to be like, okay, this is a successful experiment. We can let go of the reins a little bit here, and maybe teach one of the more arcanely inclined guys, Warforged, how to do it.
So early on, as you're making Warforged, say 10 years into it,
Yeah.
Cogsworth would come to you at some point and say, "Father, I have a favor to ask of you. I have created my masterpiece." And he rolls a gurney into your workshop and pulls back the cover on it, and you see a gorgeously created Warforged there. And it's one that you have had no hand in.
Oh wow.
He
Would be overwhelmingly impressed.
He has kept it secret from you. But he needs you to imbue the spark of life within her, his daughter, as he introduces her to you. And after doing so, he begins to raise her the same way that you raised him. Education through stories and instilling the urge to create of anything, create art, create tools, create story. Creation has become almost like religion to Cogsworth, and he wants to instill that same feeling of creation in his creation.
Beautiful.
And over the years, you get to know her as much as you know Cogsworth, and find that her soul is even more beautiful than his. She is a truly good person in the world. And it's at that point that you decide this is the one. And you teach her the secrets of creation of Warforged.
I like that.
During all that, you also stumble upon some secrets with descending stones. You're able to... You find that the original circle, whether it is psychological or an arcane limit, you don't know. You don't see a reason for an arcane limit, but there it is anyway. That original circle is as large of a network as you can make. However, you can make multiple networks, and you can make keystones that can connect one network to another.
Okay. He would almost certainly start producing set of those for the various cells of the painted company, so that they would have, in-field communications. And he would carry, if you'll allow this idea, he would try to carry a master key that allows him to hook into any given sending stone network. And if they're close enough, connect them through the key so that he can communicate with two at once, if that's a cool idea with you.
We'll leave that with his current studies as we close out the epilogue.
Sure.
As you're figuring all of that out is when you begin to feel a pull, a draw, and know that Kerdaeum's time is coming to an end and his reflection is coming upon him, and you're going to be needed. So you head to the Skyreach Mountains, to Kerdaeum's lair, and you spend about a year with him. You don't really have very many bonds to anyone alive, really, in the rest of the world. Kerdaeum is very important to Warryn, having spent the last 300 plus years with him.
Mm-hmm.
Mist is still out there, but she's doing her thing. You guys, early on, the first 50, 100 years were close, but now that the Scroll of Fate is unlocked and you've spent less and less time. Quillen, you're still visiting him every year, but it's pretty much just a couple of days a year. There's not a whole lot going on. Your friends are either gone or are slowly just fading from your life. And Kerdaeum is an anchor to those earlier days when you guys were out doing the things that the Unavowed had done.
Yeah, I think he finds seeing Kerdaeum to be a very comforting thing when it happens.
And it is on one very starlit night as you and Kerdaeum are sitting on a mountain top, looking at the Scroll of Fate, discussing what it says, when he slowly falls asleep and takes his last enormous breath, and you realize that he's gone. And you sit quietly for about an hour before you see a sparkling light begin to cover over him, and his body dissipates into these bright motes which ascend into the heavens, and a new chapter of the Scroll of Fate is written as a new constellation is born.
I mean, you can't raid the body for parts?
Nope.
I'm just kidding. No, that's beautiful. I love it.
And you eventually make your way back down into his lair and take a look around at the magnificent wonders he's collected through countless lifetimes.
Yeah, I just imagine fucking Scrooge at the super duper sad funeral, and then just Scrooge McDucking into the money bin, jumping into a pile of coins.
There is a coin pile, but it's not like a dragon coin pile.
I know. It was more figurative to me.
But yeah, the treasures in here would be hoard enough for any dragon.
Oh yeah, the treasures in Kerdaeum's hoard are far more valuable than any gold that Warryn could have.
So you put some of them into displays in Telb, in Darsmith, in Dunacair.
But yeah, now that he's the headmaster, there would probably be a fairly sizable collection in Darsmith.
Yes.
Of the safe stuff, obviously.
4 or 5 major museums throughout Ilvanos.
Belongs in a museum.
While the things that could be used to do great damage or cause great harm end up in your personal workshop under lock and key. Your study of magic really turns up with those items.
Oh yeah.
And you begin to unlock more and more secrets, which eventually leads you to unlocking secrets about the Divine Gate. And we'll go ahead and wrap it up with Warryn comes across information about the Divine Gate. A flaw. And we'll end it right there.
And that's why they called him Cliffhanger.